everyone. How are you? Woohoo! It's good to be here this morning. What I'd like you to do this morning is turn to the person to your right or left or both and tell them your name and tell them what was the best thing that has happened to you this week already. The best thing. Do it right now. Okay, wrap it up quick. Now, just a few housekeeping rules, just so you know. If you haven't found the restrooms, they're back out the way you came in, down the hallway, and immediately as you get in the elevator area, they're to your left. If those are full, which they may be, because they're single stall kinds of things, you can go all the way on down that hall, and there's another set of restrooms at the end closest to the parking lot on that end of the building. I know that's important because bio breaks are very, very critical, okay? If you would, make sure your phone is on stun or at least quiet, because we don't want to interrupt our presenters today, and make sure that you've done that and check that. If you have it on vibrate, don't put it on the chair next to you, so it goes, put it close to your heart. That's this one. Okay. Well, guess who's going to be your MC today? Thank you. Hi, I'm Van Carpenter, and I'm on a mission to redefine change in a positive manner. That's right. I work with business leaders and organizations to make sure they get unstuck and move to that next level of productivity, profit, and performance. You know, embracing and leveraging change is at the heart of what I do, so I thought today it would be appropriate to kick off this session with a change message. Now, change, when you look at it and think about it, usually brings up feelings of what? Oh, yes, exactly. Dread and avoidance of anything new. As someone once said that the only one who really likes change is a wet baby. And then they get someone else to do it for them. Yes, change historically had a dark and negative side, but it's also a positive force, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today, that we must use and learn to leverage daily. In everything we do in our life and business, change is a constant, but it's accelerating every day. In our society, it's just uncontrollable. Brian Tracy, in his book, Reinvention, told a story about Harvard researchers. These researchers made 3 predictions. Prediction 1. There will be more change in the coming year than this year. Prediction 2. There will be more competition than ever before in the next year. And prediction 3, there will be more opportunity, no matter what your profession is, in the coming year. Regardless of what you do, that opportunity will be there, but it will be different, and the activities you need to do will be different. Guess when they made these predictions? 1952. I know many of you were not alive then. I was a great 1-year-old at the time. But you know, the fact is, the interesting thing is that they are just as true today as they were then. The rapid rate of change is unavoidable. It's unstoppable. In fact, we are in a state of transition more than ever in our society. Think you're doing well with change? Will Rogers, a great American humorist, said, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. So just sitting and contemplating will not help you to do that. Know how to embrace change. In fact, don't just sit there. Get out there and do it. You need to embrace change effectively and learn how to manage it. Charles Darwin, you know, the old evolution guy, once said it best. Survival goes not necessarily to the most intelligent or the strongest of the species. It goes to the one that can adapt the best. Well, don't despair, change avoiders. Our presenters today will be bringing you some informative, intuitive, and great ideas for you to utilize in your life and business. From coaching to transformation, from product conception to presentation, from promotion to innovation. Our speakers will present you with entertaining and invaluable nuggets of wisdom. Yes? Are you ready for change in your life and business? Say yes.
Yes.
Are you ready to hear some great presentations?
Yes.
Say yes. All right, then let's get down to business. Our first speaker today is he's not Charles Darwin. He's not quite that old, but he is a unique blend of roles. He blends the mind of an engineer, the heart of a teacher, and the passion of a coach to create practical paths to greatness for his clients. He has captured that unique blend in his books as well. His premier book, Presentation Sin, is a collection of tips and tactics on how to impress any audience as a speaker. In his co-authored book, 6 Steps Forward, Alan talks about change in a man's life. Alan Hoffler is well known for his straight-shooting, practical speaking style and his results-oriented approach to speaking, coaching, and communication. His presentation title today is Coaching to Win, the 4 Corners of Behavior Change. It promises to give us great insight on how to get the most out of our organizations and teams. So let's give a warm welcome to the stage, Alan Hoffler.
I was 22 years old in my second week as an adult when I was asked a question that would change my life. The AD brought me in and asked the simple question, do you want to coach basketball? Remembering that I had a 7.5 points per game average, was second in the conference in free throw percentage, and the most improved player, which meant I was the worst at the start of the season, I recognized my pedigree was getting noticed, and I immediately said, yes, I'll do it. There was only one problem. I didn't know how to coach. I thought it would be easy, but I discovered it wasn't. That was 3 decades ago, and what I've learned has made me a better coach. Today I'm a speech coach, but it also gives you the ticket to build a great team and affect the change that you're looking for in the world, in your world. There are 4 groups of people that we need to coach. I know you know there's one, but there's actually 4 that I've discovered that we need to embrace and get on our teams to affect change. Not only did I have the pedigree of my performance, but I had a mullet. And I was sure that was going to help me. I had a Jerry Tarkanian towel wrapped around my shoulder. But the first group of people that were very obvious sat right behind the bench. Moms and dads. I'm yelling, pass the ball, pass the ball. Moms and dads are yelling, shoot the ball, shoot the ball. And we had a discrepancy in viewpoints and what needed to happen. But I've come to see these not as the enemy. I had one meet me at the door one time and say, you're ruining my kid. Ruining? That's probably your job. I had another tell me, if you can't see the talent of my kid at point guard, then you just don't know anything about coaching. He was probably right on his second point, but not on his first. But today I see these vested interests. They might be your boss, your coworkers, your community, neighbors. These are the people that want to see change in your and in everybody's life, but they're just on the sidelines. They're not involved in it. I believe now that my first practice is the most important because that's my parent meeting, or we outline expectations and say, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. In our workshops, we do peer reviews and get a whole bunch of voices speaking into the life of someone, because I believe that the more voices we can get singing the same tune will affect that change. That job of mine lasted 1 year. I tucked my tail between my legs and ran back to grad school where it was safe. But a few years later, I got a hankering to coach again. And I walked into a Wake County high school and volunteered my efforts as an assistant basketball coach. In our 4th year, we had 6 games decided by 1 bucket. We lost all 6. We finished 11-11, and the AD walked in and said, we've decided to go in a different direction. That's a euphemism for, you're fired. It's a nicer way to say it. I recognize that. But I began to see this administration as the evil monster that held the cards, their policies, their procedures, their rules. I don't see it that way anymore. Because really, the failure is in the coach to define what winning is. If you define winning as having more points on the scoreboard, then 11-11 gets you fired. But how do I win today? I'm not competing with anybody. How do you win management or parenting or even life? The second group we need to embrace is these administrators, these people that have power. Maybe they didn't give you the budget you wanted for training. Maybe they gave you a bad PowerPoint template you had to use. That's my world. But by engaging them, by bringing them in and defining success, what do we mean when we say we're going to win? Then the administration can agree to that and go, hey, we know exactly what you're standing for, and we don't have to go in a different direction. It was the first and only time I ever got fired in my life, so far. 10 years later, a life event changed my view of coaching, because now I was the proud parent of a budding all-star. And if you couldn't see that this kid had talent, then you just don't know anything about coaching. He's squashing the bug. The hips are turned, the arms extended, the head is in, the eyes are focused. There is greatness in this lad. And we sent him off to rec league to play under coaches. And I was universally disappointed in what I saw. These coaches wore soccer hats to an American football practice. They got easily frustrated. They yelled at kids. Sometimes they just rolled out the balls in scrimmage. They didn't teach. And worst of all, they didn't love my kid. And I began to recognize that the coaching matters, because change doesn't happen. If it was easy to become a professional football or professional baseball player, then everybody would do it. If it was easy to be a professional speaker, then everybody would do it. If it was easy to be a parent, well, everybody's kind of doing that, but if it was easy to be a good parent or a manager, we need coaches in our life. And it's so easy to sit there on Twitter and go, this stinks, I don't like him, and I don't like her, and go to Facebook and make a post about an organization that you don't think is being run well. But I would offer that we need to engage. Your homeowners association needs you. Your boss needs you to not sit in the break room and complain, but to be involved in the processes of the events at your organization. Instead of complaining, let's engage and be part of the solution. I've been coaching for many years in rec league now, and I think you can tell by the expression on my face, it hasn't always gone according to plan. Because our fourth group are the players, and sometimes they just don't change the way we want them to. Many of you have attended our workshops where you know we teach eye contact is a very important skill for speaking. Apparently my team didn't get the message. The only kid that's looking in my direction is my son, and he looks like he swallowed something. I mean, it just doesn't work. But I've discovered that working with kids, the only thing they can change is their attitude and their behavior. They can't change their height. They can't really change their talent. But I'm trying to coach them to box out in the four corners. And what I should be coaching is their motivation. See, my greatest asset as a coach is my ability to assist them. An assist means somebody else scored and it was easy for them. And instead of making it hard for my players, I should make it as easy as possible and motivate them to be great. You can go to the internet for free and learn how to be a parent, a manager, or code in Java. But what you can't get on the internet is motivation to do. And coaches need to step in and motivate their players. I call it my four-corner offense. And it's my big idea for today. Involve, define, engage, assist. It was just a few years ago that I was asked another question that changed my life. In the midst of coaching, poorly I might add, I was asked the question, what's the definition of a coach? My business card says I'm a public speaking coach. Seems like I should know the answer. I was shocked to find out I didn't. See, the word coach comes from a stagecoach. And when stagecoaches were prominent, not everybody could use them. So a coach, whether used as a noun or a verb, really means that you take people of importance from where they are to where they want or need to be. My question that could change your life this morning, who in your life, what organization in your life do you need to coach? And how can you embrace all four parties to affect the change that this world needs to see? Maybe, just maybe, your most noted accomplishment in this world will be in making someone else great. Thank you.
You know, one of the good things, other than the presenters today, is there are gifts and prizes. Alan has put together 2 gifts that he will award, and all the gifts we draw for you. We had the bowl go in, you put your cards in the bowl right over here with Jim Reckless. If you haven't, we'll do that. He'll be around. You can get that in there. But we draw each time for that. And Alan has given us 2 workshop tickets, complete pass to the workshop. One is the Intense Skills Workshop, and Richard Gardner. You got that one, okay? Now what you do is, after the show, go back to the tables back here where all our speakers will have all their unabashed self-promotional materials, and you can claim your prize and go from there. The second prize today is the Storytelling Workshop, a great workshop as well, and Terry Beal. Terry? For you? Yes, Terry, you won that Storytelling Workshop. So give those folks a great hand. And one more great round for Alan Hoffler. Our next speaker is, he's a self-admitted congenital entrepreneur and a geek with ADD. As a matter of fact, Mike says that he's doing a short talk because that's about all his attention span can handle. Mike is a regular advisor to startups and legacy businesses alike. He's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of focus misapplied. Today, Mike will be talking about wide aperture thinking and situational focus. His topic will be Focus Different, Embrace Your Inner AD. Help me welcome Mike Bittle to the stage. Mike.
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to start off with a question. How many of you have caught yourself getting distracted while you're working on a project? Maybe have a little trouble focusing? Have you beat yourself up for it?
Come on.
Well, I'm here to say you don't need to do that. Because not focusing might not be a bad idea. It might be a good idea. Why do I say that? Well, I have ADD, and it happens to me all the time. And I used to think that was a problem, but it turns out that it's been a competitive advantage. I am now what private equity guys call a fixer.
Thank you, sir.
I get called in when the folks who are focusing really well hit a brick wall, hit a bump in the road, and have no idea where to go next. I come in and I see things that they don't see because I have a broader knowledge base to draw from. Why is that? Well, with ADD, I am interested in everything. And that means that my brain is filled with all sorts of random stuff. The other thing that happens is schedules, deadlines, have a tendency to lodge in this little corner of my brain, and they don't show up until the last possible minute. I've named this corner of my brain the TSA cortex, after the airport security folks, because whatever gets in there is stuck and ignored until 5 minutes before flight time, and then you're pushed through the gate, and good luck meeting your deadline. The good news is that I've been able to learn how to dig down and learn stuff really, really quickly. And all of that random information turned out to be connected in some way. Now you might wonder, why does that matter to all of you normal people? Well, it's all about competitive advantage. We have trained ourselves really, really well at what I call situational focus. And that's focusing in on the task at hand, getting the job done, and tweaking and adjusting what's already there. Anybody remember the Pareto's 80-20 rule? Have anybody ever worked on a Six Sigma team? You know, those are great, powerful tools. And back in the day, you could build a brand around just doing that. If you had a quality product or service, that was a differentiator. But now I run into businesses all the time that have their black belts and they have their certified this and that, and they're not making the market presence that they want. They're not getting the results that they expect. And fundamentally, it's because what got you there, got you here, is not going to get you there. Thank you, Marshall. We need innovation. The thing with innovation is that not everybody means the same thing when they say it. People who are doing regular product improvements and enhancements think they're being innovative. Some people follow the business school model and say, oh, we're going to just put a new product into the marketplace, or maybe take an existing product and put it into a new market. But to get people's attention, you really have to be disruptive. You really have to do something outstanding. Because being good enough is no longer good enough. And being better is expected. You need to do what's unexpected. And the unexpected is never really sitting right in front of you. It's off on the side somewhere, it's on the periphery. And if you're not paying attention to the unexpected, it will hip check you right out of the marketplace. So, what do? I call it wide aperture thinking. Now, in a camera, a wide aperture means letting in a lot more light. In wide aperture thinking, it's letting in a lot more information. Information that maybe doesn't seem relevant right away. Ever fall down the internet rabbit hole? Here's a link, there's a link, here's a link. Been there, done that. Here's an interesting example. I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm working on something, and I hit just a momentary loss of momentum. And I realize I need to check my email right now. Now, I'm not going to read that email. I'm just going to make sure that there's nothing there that I need to worry about. And I'll delete all of these spam and political tweets and LinkedIn group messages. And oh, this is interesting. Follow the link, and all of a sudden there's something useful there. I call it 3 steps. You heard of 6 steps of separation? I call it 3 steps of imagination. Start with the first distraction, the second distraction, and all of a sudden there's something useful there.
It's like a German pronunciation.
But, oops, excuse me. By the way, this does not work with cat videos. You have to start from a page that actually has meaningful content on it. So how do you use all this random information? The key is that it has to be related to something. The brain will remember things if it has something to stick to. So the key as you wander down those 3 steps of imagination is to try to tie each of these pieces that you stumble onto to something that you're either already working on or that you know someone else is working on. And your brain will wire up the rest. And then you too will have a broad pool of interesting information to work with. I have another example. And it's interesting on 2 points. The first level is it wasn't the example I was originally going to use. A couple of days ago, I'm in the internet rabbit hole. And I come across a company, and I said, this is a much better example. Wide aperture thinking. The company is an LED manufacturer. And they realize that they have electronics in their lamps. And maybe they could get on board with this Internet of Things thing. So they add that. But they took it one step further. And they put in a 4-core Linux processor with Wi-Fi, and they created, for their clients, a complete computing network built on the infrastructure of the lighting system. How does a light bulb company turn into a network infrastructure company? Wide aperture thinking. So, you've heard the saying, can't see the forest for the trees. Situational focus is overrated. Embrace your inner ADD, try wide aperture thinking, focus different, and enjoy the forest. Thank you.
That was Mike. Ooh, look at that squirrel. Oh, Bittle. I'm sorry. You know, this event couldn't happen except from the the generous donations of our sponsors. One of our sponsors is this lady sitting on her knees over here drawing. Karen Sterling is with, in fact, I can't read your name, Karen. Drawing Insights. Why would I not know that? And Drawing Insights is a graphic reporter, and you'll see as we go along how our event unfolds on paper. It'll be really interesting to see. So, without further ado, though, let me talk to you about our next speaker, Melissa Kennedy. She's a juxtaposition, a Southern woman that talks really fast. She is an accelerator, though. No, not the gas pedal in your car, but the kind of accelerator that helps your business get moving and growing quickly. Melissa herself is on a very fast track. She's a 2017 Triangle Business Journal 40 Under 40 leader. She's been a TEDx speaker, has driven more than $1 billion of revenue for businesses and helped them do it faster than ever before through her rapid results, innovation workshops, and keynotes. She's also the author of a best-selling book entitled The Innovation Revolution, Discover the Genius Hiding in Plain Sight. I personally had to look a little deeper after reading her book, but I found the genius. I did. Seriously, though, Melissa's talk will focus on how to accelerate innovation through intrapreneurship. You'll find out more about that in a moment. It promises to guide us on how to accelerate our companies both inside and out. Please help me welcome to our stage, Melissa Kennedy.
All right. The one thing that can accelerate or slow down your next big thing, your next great innovation, is your people. And you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, the first woman in the lineup going all kumbaya. Not so. I've worked in politics. I've worked in television. I've worked for mega tech firms. I led the retooling of the #1 news website in the country, and across all of those complex, high-tech, and high-stakes environments, I learned the importance of people. Your employees can accelerate your next great innovation, or they can slow it way, way down. Which means, no matter how much technology you have, no matter what industry you're in, when it comes to making big things happen, like doubling and tripling your revenue, or disrupting an entire industry, they all come down to your people. So what are we going to do about this people thing? As leaders, how can we manage this resistance? Well, first of all, we have to admit that innovation is just a sexy term for change. And as people, we naturally resist change. We can't help it. It's biological, which means that you have to let go and really excite and entertain and empower your employees. Here's a key word: intrapreneurship. It's kind of hard to say. Intra meaning inside. Preneurship, we think entrepreneurship. We think outside innovation. Put it together, intrapreneurship. Entrepreneurship on the inside. Entrepreneurship is the key to accelerating your next great innovation by empowering and enabling your employees to do big things, solve critical problems, and create amazing customer experiences. Sounds so simple, but trust me, it's hard. We work in the age of uncertainty, so the mere idea of unleashing your employees is frightening. What if they make a mistake? What if they aren't up for the job? And what if they goof off? What if? These thoughts are completely normal, but I gotta tell you, in order to grow and compete in this hyper-connected, warp speed environment of today, you have to be willing to let go of those thoughts and believe. Believe that your employees have the capacity to innovate and change. Your employees must transform into entrepreneurs. How? There are 3 keys to activation. Number 1, environment. In my experience, your environment must be set up for entrepreneurs to thrive. That means both physical and cultural. It's all about the setup and the vibe. Let me give you an example. Vegas. A Vegas casino is set up for one intended purpose: gambling. The temperature is cool. The drinks are flowing. There are no clocks or clear ways in or out. Let's talk about the Vegas vibe, the lights, the sounds, the permission, or is it an expectation to indulge? We know how the saying goes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Vegas is a no judgment zone. That's important. Your environment must be set up for one intended purpose: innovation. Your physical space should be open. You need tools like whiteboards and Post-it notes and craft supplies for rapid prototyping and inspiration. And the vibe? Think Vegas without the HR violation. There must be an expectation that your employees pursue ideas without judgment. It's all about the setup and the vibe. Number 2, process. It seems counterintuitive, process, innovation, same sentence. Most of us think that this creative genius happens in this magical, serendipitous moment. That's a big mistake. If you want something to happen, you have to plan for it, and innovation is no different. Process allows companies to have a plan and a means to scale their innovation effort. What does that look like? Take Facebook. They are known for having hackathons. That's their innovation process. They are frequent and consistent. They allow everyone to pursue an idea outside their job description, outside their department. And boy, has it paid off. One of the most notable things that's come out of this process is the Facebook like button. This has become the calling card for the world's largest social network. But that's not the only thing that's emerged from this process. There have been more than 50 features, product lines, and whole business units that have come out of these hackathons, from data center technology to live streaming video. Process allows employees the ability to practice, to gain confidence, and improve their skills to improve their innovative results. And a consistent and repeatable process allows companies a plan and a means to scale their innovation efforts so they don't just have one big thing, they have a pipeline of big things. Number 3, motivation. And I'm not talking about the official rewards and recognitions. That's important, but it's far more important to tap into intrinsic motivators. Motivators like solving an impossible challenge, or pursuing an idea of interest, or creating that feeling that you have made a difference. These are the motivators that transform employees into entrepreneurs. Need some more context? Let's talk about garages. How many successful companies do we know of that started in a garage? Let me share a few for you. Apple, Amazon, HP, Harley Davidson, and Disney. Disney started in this garage. These are stories where someone risked everything to pursue their idea. What a powerful motivator. People invest more in their own ideas, It allows them to go beyond the paycheck, beyond the 9 to 5. You can harness these same motivators in your company to help transform employees into entrepreneurs. One final thought, more like an invitation. Believe, not just in your people, but in yourself. You're the one who creates the environment. You guide the process and you offer the motivation. You've hired really smart people. Now go out there and use them to do something big. Thank you.
Wasn't that a great enlightening presentation, especially the Vegas lights? Anyway, Melissa has a gift for you as well. And the winner of her Ideas to Action workshop, a free workshop giveaway, is Kate Fryman Fox. Kate? All right. So see Melissa afterwards, right? Pardon me while I get prepared for my next thing here. There's something fishy about our next presenter. Stan Phelps, Mr. Phelps, as most people know him as Mr. Goldfish, the goldfish guy. His multicolored goldfish books and talks apply to different parts and aspects of customer experience as a differentiator, and today's talk is no different. He'll be talking with us today on how to amplify weirdness and embrace weakness to stand out in business. Let me say that again. How to amplify weirdness and embrace weakness to stand out in business. Okay? Stan is also known in other areas other than the Goldfish Bowl. He is an ongoing Forbes contributor, a TEDx speaker, and an IBM futurist. His well-researched keynotes and workshops focus on the power of customer and employee experience as competitive differentiators in business. But more importantly to us, we know Stan as the heart and soul of PRiSM, the organization that you're here today to see our showcase. Without his leadership in nurturing, PRiSM would not be here. He's a true visionary in thought and action and is always giving back to his community of speakers and professional speakers. Let's give him a warm welcome for doing that, for his contributions here at PRiSM. You can hold the music just a minute, because Stan, as we discussed, is the author of 7 Goldfish books. Today's talk is a preview of his upcoming book with Dave Rendell entitled The Pink Goldfish. Prepare to look at weird and weak in an entirely different color light. Stan Phelps.
Do you remember your first pet? How old you were? I was 6 years old. Look at that hair. My first pet, you might have guessed it, was a goldfish. I won it at a carnival. Yeah, ping pong ball, the whole deal. I only thought goldfish ever grew to be so big. And it turns out I was true, because the average goldfish is only 3 inches. Anybody here want to fathom a guess of what the Guinness World Record is for a goldfish? Nearly 20 inches. Think about that. How is that even possible? That would be like walking out of the frontier today and bumping into somebody who's 3 stories tall. Well, that intrigued me, because the 5 reasons that a goldfish grows are the same exact 5 reasons that everyone here in this room, their business will grow. So let's jump into it. Here's the first one, and we've all heard it, right? The bigger the bowl, the bigger the pond that goldfish is in, the more it will grow. Well, if you're in business, what's the size of the bowl or the pond? It's simply the market for your product or service. Here's the second one. This is a layup. that goldfish is also affected by the amount of other goldfish that are in the bowl. Who are those other goldfish? Your competition. You can shout it out. Here's the third one. This is getting a little tougher. They're also impacted by the quality of the water that they're in. So think about the nutrients that are in the water, the cloudiness of the water. Well, if you're in business, this is more of a macro thing. That's the economy. So think about the nutrients, the ability to get capital. That cloudiness could be things like consumer confidence. Here's number 4. Their growth is also impacted by their first 120 days. How they do in that critical first 4 months will determine ultimately how big they'll get. So who are you in business your first 4 months? You're a startup. Here's the 5th thing. Their growth is also impacted by their genetic makeup. Meaning, what are they born with? How strong are their genes are? The stronger their genes, the more they're separated from all the other goldfish, the more they will stand out. What's that in business? Simply this: differentiation. Now let me ask you this. There's 5 things here. What do you have control over if you're in business? I'm going to assume everyone here in this room has been in business for more than 4 months, so I will tell you this. The only thing you have control over is how you differentiate yourself, how you stand out in what I would call a sea of sameness. We know differentiation is important, and this is a great quote by Youngmi Moon. The problem is that the amount of companies that actually differentiate is depressingly small. Well, I've studied this. I think there's only 2 keys to actually stand out. Here's the first. You need to think about embracing your weirdness. And 2, you need to think about how you amplify weakness in business. Now, here's the problem. Everything that we've learned about weakness is wrong, because every weakness has a corresponding strength. And what makes us weak is also what makes us strong. And what makes us weird, if you lean in, is what makes us wonderful. So my co-author and I, we've studied this. We studied how you stand out. And we found by looking at over 250 companies that there's roughly 7 ways that you can apply a concept that we call the pink goldfish. Don't have time to do all 7 today. We're going to do 3. So let's jump into it. First is oppositioning. When everyone goes in one direction, what do smart companies do? They go the exact opposite. Case in point, a decade ago, all of the fast food restaurants went towards healthy. Salads, fruit, water. What did Hardee's do? They created the thick burger. They took fatty food and they made it fattier. They leaned in. My absolute favorite, the apocalypse. Number 2, lopsiding. Lopsiding is about actually leaning into what makes you different and actually amplifying it to take it to the next level. Think about cough syrup. Has anybody ever drank anything and said, ooh, this tastes good, it's like cough syrup? No, I don't think anybody's ever said that. There's a cough syrup that comes out of Canada. It's called Buckley's. And Buckley's doesn't try to mask the flavor of their cough syrup. It tastes horrible. They actually lean into it. In their advertising, they say it tastes like sweaty gym socks and trash bag leakage. Their point is it tastes awful because it works. They amplify that fact and lopside it. Number 3, limiting. And this is difficult because in business we always want to do more. This is about figuring out how you can do less to stand out. Think about every hair salon you've ever seen. Cut, dry, perm, color, highlight. Not this company. Based out of Vancouver, Canada, Blow. The only thing that they do is blowouts. You walk in, there's 7 different options. You can walk out of the salon looking like a movie star. Amazing, amazing place. There are now over 95 Blow locations. They're growing like wildfire. Here's my challenge to everyone here today, is how can you look at both your weirdness and your weakness and wrap your arms around it and embrace it and be willing enough to turn up the volume and amplify it. Are we ready to do that? I want everyone here to stand up because we are going to do the pink goldfish oath. I want you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be different.
I promise to be different.
I promise to be unique.
I promise to be unique.
I promise not to repeat things other people say.
I promise.
Thank you.
Well, that gave me great license to continue in a weird way. But something that's not weird or what good advantage our sponsors bring to us every day. One of those sponsors you see standing over here by himself looking at his camera. Kevin Seifert, photography. And he has great pictures in the back for you to see. So please stop by and visit with him afterwards. Also, your local studio, which is a videography production company, they're actually having a great event in January, the 27th, called the Key 5. And in fact, Alex, where do they go to? What's the website they go?
Key5conference.com.
Gosh, that's amazing. That would be intuitive, wouldn't it? But thank you so much for he provided some production assistance and cameras and videography and was helping us document this whole good thing. A big round of applause for the local studio. You have a treat coming up. Stephanie Scotti. Now, how many of you use presentations in your business, sales, or marketing? The rest of you are going to lose. You're dead. You know, if you don't use presentations and good presentations, then you're not with it. As you know, presentations are not one-size-fits-all proposition. Each presentation has its own focus, content, and delivery, and really requires a different level of time and skill involvement to deliver it well. For over 35 years, though I doubt she's that old, our next speaker, Stephanie Scotti, has been preparing people to speak, listening to their presentations, and giving them valuable feedback for improvement. Early on at 22, she was already working in her field, coaching key policymakers in Washington, including the President's Cabinet, to be better presenters. Since those early years, Stephanie has coached literally thousands of business executives from all size companies throughout the world to become better presenters. Recently, she served as a TED coach at the TEDx Raleigh event. Reflecting on her years of practical experience and learned methodology, Stephanie observed that most speakers typically utilize one of 3 distinct roles when delivering presentations. With that realization, she came up with her own unique speaking model. Stephanie's model defines those 3 speaking roles as to be either 1, an expert, 2, an interpreter, or 3, a catalyst. Curious about what your role you typically use and what you're required to do that successfully? Well, let's not think about that or speculate. Let's start with help from the expert, Stephanie Scotti.
Thank you. Poking, prodding, sometimes even provoking. That's what I do for a living. And I do that as I prepare business leaders to speak at high-stakes presentations, giving them the skills, the knowledge, and support they need to make sure they really nail it. Well, let me tell you, I love what I do. But recently, all that converged and absolutely changed how I think about, talk about, and coach people. It happened when I met David. David was a client of mine. He was a new CFO, just promoted within the apparel industry. And he was bright and capable, and he absolutely hated to speak. But he knew it was part of his job. So he said, all right, I'll go along with it. I got to learn how to do this. So David hired me to work with him to teach him TED-like skills for whenever he was speaking. He had a couple of presentations coming up. One in particular was to the CFO of the corporate company, which is a Fortune 500. And it was going to be coming up in about the next month or so. So we were working on this, and then all of a sudden, about the third session, he said to me, Stephanie, I got to call time out. I just got a news flash from corporate. All they want from me is the numbers. They don't want my insight. They don't want my opinion. They don't even want me to tell them how I think it's going to affect the company. They just want the numbers. And oh, by the way, they want to use this template over here. Really bad. Does any of that sound familiar perhaps to some of you? Well, at that moment, it was a pivotal moment with David, and we recalibrated to make sure he met the expectations of his new boss. Now, why did I talk to you about David? Well, it's really because he thought there was one right way, and that was the TED way. But he found out that perhaps there needs to be another alternative. And working with people over my career, I find so many of you want to get it right and that one right way of doing things, and almost experience a performance anxiety before they get up to speed. The problem is that there's TED, and then the opposite of TED, which is the slideument. Any of you familiar with that slideument? This is a word that Gary Reynolds coined in his book Presentation Zen. And what it is that cross between the document and a slide. It's that 9-point font with tons of content that nobody's ever going to read or understand, but we feel compelled to put it up there. It is the one thing that I find in corporate America we love to hate, and that's the slideument. So what's your alternative? Well, in that pivotal moment when I was working with David, all of a sudden I realized that business leaders typically play 3 roles when they stand up to speak. They're the role of the expert, the interpreter, and the catalyst. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear here. One is not more important than the other. They're all equally important. And one is not more interesting or exciting than another. In fact, every single one of them needs to be both engaging and inspiring. So please, when you hear the word expert, don't think that's synonymous with boring, because it's not. So let's talk about these a little bit more, and let me introduce them to you and see which one you're usually asked to be. If you're asked to be an expert, that means that you're trying to do one thing, and that is have a mind meld. You want to take whatever's in your head and share it with other people in a way that's accessible and understandable. That's the only thing you're trying to do. Let me repeat that. You just want to share information. You have no expectations of what people are going to do with it. That's up to them to decide what they're going to do. That's an expert. Now meet Nikki. Nikki Ostauer is a real person. She lives in New York City. She's a holistic nutritionist. And I had a chance to work with her a couple years ago. And while she gives a variety of talks, at the time, she was speaking as an expert. And all she wanted people to know was that every time you eat, everything you eat contributes to your bottom line. That's it. She didn't care what you did with the information. She wasn't asking you to take a particular action with it. She just wanted you to know. She's an expert. Let's go on to the interpreter. Now, the interpreter, what's really interesting to me about them is by their name alone, you know they're bilingual. The epitome of an interpreter is that middle-level manager that has to take what's happening on the floor and translate it up to upper management, or take strategy for upper management and translate it so it's executable on the floor. That's the interpreter. Their job is to take data and give it insight so it's meaningful to you. Now, the main difference between the expert and the interpreter is the interpreter always has a call to action. Everything they are saying is to get you to take the action that they need to have happen. That's the interpreter. Here's an interpreter, right local to us. Troy Booter was speaking at a local industry event. In this case, he was an interpreter, and his message to everyone in the room was get up, dress up, and show up. And the way he talked about it is he told his story and the times in his life where he wondered if he could do those things. And by the end, that's what he was asking all of us to do, no matter what challenges we face. Interpreter. Now, when you hear the word catalyst, what names come to mind for you? Perhaps it's Steve Jobs, or Sheryl Sandberg, or my favorite, Simon Sinek. Well, what their job is as a catalyst is they're there to ignite change. They want to disrupt the status quo, and they want to paint a vision of what's possible. They don't care how you execute on that vision. They just want you to buy into it. And it's in their DNA. They're compelled. They can't help but do this. For me, I'm thinking about Steve Jobs because as a catalyst, he was always telling us to invent tomorrow. That's the picture he was always painting for us. That's a catalyst. So there you have it. The expert, the interpreter, and the catalyst. And you'll see that there's a little orange delta there. That orange delta is to signify that it's a different skill set that's required for each of these roles. And just to make you aware of that. Let me ask you, what was David asking to be? I heard somebody. What was that? An expert. Absolutely. In this case, he was asked to be an expert. So once we knew what his role was, we were then able to address the skills he needed to have in order to execute on it. Because once you know your what and your how, that's what leads to success. Now, you might wonder about David. Let me tell you, he is a real person. He was a client, and he nailed it. Not only did he nail that quarterly report, a couple weeks later, he had to speak at a corporate-wide planning event. Imagine the CFO. He was funny. He was engaging. He was smart. And he got an ovation. It was amazing. So every day, I have to thank David for what he did for me, because he's the one that created the opportunity, that moment when we recalibrated, to develop some tools. A simple tool that will allow any presenter to figure out what their role is and the skills they need to be successful. Expert, interpreter, or catalyst. Which one are you typically asked to be? Figure that out, and then calibrate your presentation for success. Thank you, Dan. Love your hat.
Thank you. You know, Stephanie has no half-baked models here. She's really fully engaged in cooking with all her expertise. And in fact, one of the gifts she's giving away is, in fact, a free assessment tool with a 45-minute consult afterwards. And the lucky winner of that is Becky Sansbury. Where's Becky? All right. Not that you need it, Becky, but at least you'll know what you're speaking about now, right? So let me take off this half-baked hat here and put on this one, because you're about to see a warrior. You've had plenty of time, as I asked you to prepare for Tom Triumph. Tom is back and fully engaged and ready to go, and he's going to talk to you today about a call to innovate. So be prepared, or no, get ready, be ready to be thoughtfully amazed by Tom Triumph.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And it may very likely be happening to you, and you, and you. Some of you here are being called. You've likely been aware of this for some time, although no one has been shouting your voice aloud.
The appeal likely began as your own private thoughts, faintly emerging, yet persistently urging. Your thinking was surging, your thoughts coalescing and converging. Over time, the appeal became more pronounced, like an entreaty announced. Let's be clear about what's happening. You are being invited to step up and make your mark, to craft a new you, forge new products, ignite new sparks. The world is calling you to innovate. Why the call to innovate? First of all, the world is changing in more ways, more profoundly than ever before. Historically, our professional lives were neatly divided into two basic parts. First, we apprenticed and learned a trade. And then we spent our adult lives doing that work and never really strayed. No longer. Today, technological and societal changes abound, impacting nearly everyone around. Advancing ways of robotics, technology and AI, autonomous vehicles, e-commerce, delivery drones in the sky, hosted platforms, solutions, and 24/7 services to use. Global communication power that lets you make the news if you choose. Moreover, you are aware of many problems where real improvement is needed, yet those many problems go unheeded. And then mixed in with all this is the realization in your head that you think maybe could make a difference instead. Instead of the usual same old, instead of the dread, instead of being a bystander and just watching the world go by, you think maybe I could make some difference if I try. And those are some of the reasons creating the unease and awakening your sensibilities to innovate. Your future demands it. Hearing the call to innovate means you're ready to begin. Heeding the call is entirely up to you. For those of you that want to start and make tracks, let's begin by separating fiction from facts. Born an innovator. Innovators are made, not born in the wild. Creativity takes talent and skill, none of which you have as a child. And if you think, like me, you're average indeed, you're in good company. You're just like Albert Einstein. A flash of innovation. Don't wait for the final solution to you to come arrive to you, fully arrived in a dream, or in a flash of lightning, or on a laser beam. Don't wait for lightning to strike or inspiration to feel smartest. Inspiration is for amateurs, says Chuck Close, the artist. A lone inventor. Mostly folklore, it's true. To put it front and center, Thomas Edison, the inventor, had over 1,000 patents that he shared with 200 colleagues with whom he was paired. It's too hard, you're too busy. Fact or fiction? Actually, only you really know. It's your life, not his or hers or some random Joe's. But think about this. After a long day at work, Yvonne Brill would come home, put her kids to bed, sit at the kitchen table and work into the nights. And after 8 years, she patented a new rocket engine that powered the Apollo moon mission flights. You can. Before you default to that position, you may want to give yourself a mission. Like Sabrina, who built from scratch a plane that she flew and she was just 14. Now what about you? And then MIT and Harvard, she studied her way through, now heralded as the next Einstein, and she's just 22. The big leap. Across a chasm dividing the old and new, does innovation jump? Not really. It moves more like it's hitting 1,000 speed bumps. The first wheel turned pottery in 3500 BC and didn't roll chariots for 3 centuries. The printing press invented in 1409 was already antiquity in Gutenberg's time. And 1,000 years before the Wright brothers' flights, monks built gliders that flew to great heights. Copy and combine. Yes. Yes. Use what's around you to mix and match and edit. Stand on the shoulder of giants. Give Isaac Newton the credit. Sarah Blakely took some scissors and made some simple cuts and built Spanx into a multi-billion-dollar business and shaped a lot of butts. Begin right here, right now. It's what Robert Rauschenberg did as a struggling young artist living the New York City beat. He made art from discarded junk he found on the street. Find paper and paint it. Find a hole and fill it. Find fertile ground and till it. Find a problem and kill it. Everything matters. True, some things do matter, some things matter less. But make the less about you and the more about success. If your work is a reflection of you, what does your work say about you when you're through? It's why some furniture makers finish the underside of their tables. It's why Frank Lloyd Wright designed overhanging gables. Why Steve Jobs insisted on perfectly finished screws inside the case of a Mac. Why recording the song Born to Run took 10 months back to back. Listen, you are being called. What's your name? Cynthia. Be like a chess master, moving your problems into checkmate. Be like someone transforming their lives into a new update. Be like a boxer punching above his weight. You are being called. There is work to do. Innovate. Thank you.
How about that for a call to innovation? Anyone not motivated? Leave then. Okay. This man has a gift for you. It's a 45-minute consultation. And the person that won that gift, I'm really envious, Sharon Delaney McLeod. Sharon? Oh, so see him at the table afterwards. Our next speaker, Tom Miller, he must be a master of transformation. One such transformation feat in his life early on was that he managed to transfer and transform his combined SAT score of 700 into a doctorate degree. See, there's hope for me, still. Additionally, he was a former principal, a consultant at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. Transformation required indeed. Tom is a certified coach, speaker, and trainer through the John Maxwell team. His keynotes and workshop focus on transforming individuals and organizations through skinny strategic planning and intentional action. His talk today is going to focus on how you cannot travel uphill with downhill habits. Today, Dr. Tom Miller asked this question: do you remember where you were when? Let's have a warm welcome to the stage for Tom Miller.
Research tells us that 5.4% of all gamblers are winners. Get excited, because you're about to learn from one of the 94.6%. That's right. Malcolm Gladwell taught us that you need 10,000 hours to become an expert. Well, I like to overachieve at everything I do, and I crushed those expectations. I became an expert at losing. Raise your hand if you have a voice in your head who drives you towards your daily goals and actions. Yeah, me too. My voice was telling me every day it was time to get your bed in. You see, where your focus goes, your energy flows. I went to great lengths and schemes to make sure that I achieved my daily goals. Whether I bet $5 or $5,000, not a day went by that I didn't think and do a gamble. I never thought I could even imagine a day without it. I was sacrificing the wrong things, and I felt stuck, and feeling stuck stinks. On February 12th, 2006, $500,000 later, on a teacher's salary, I heard that voice again. But the message was different. It said, you know, Tom, your life is pretty good. Just imagine if it was a day without gambling, without lying. So I went where everybody goes when they need answers, to the Google. Google directed me to join a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. The closest meeting was 90 miles away. For 10 weeks, I didn't miss a meeting. They taught me words like honesty, humility, respect, responsibility, and accountability. If my actions were self-defeating, my GA brothers and sisters were there to set me straight. We ended every meeting with, it works if you work it. Just work it for 90 days. You would be clear to guess that I was not going to tell them on my 90th day I would be in Las Vegas for a friend's bachelor party. Raise your hand if you've been to a casino. Okay, so you understand the shiny lights, the pure oxygen that they pump into your body, and the constant ringing of the slot machines. It's a lot of great energy. It wasn't too long before I found myself wandering to the back of a casino to find a blackjack table that I could be hidden away from my friends. Once I found a table I liked, I pulled out the only $40 that I had, and I placed my bet. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I didn't pay any attention to the cards. I heard a groan come amongst the table, and the word muck, and the dealer had accidentally flipped over his down card, and all bets were off. I couldn't believe what was happening because I knew it was just a matter of time before one of my friends saw me. So I crouched even lower in my seat. And as I did, out of the corner of my eye, I saw another dealer start to enter the pit area. The pit boss yelled, "New dealer." He got behind our dealer, tapped him on the back. Our dealer clapped his hands, showed his hands to the sky, and walked away. As I watched all this unfold, I heard that voice again. But this time it wasn't tired, it wasn't, defeated, it was confident. He said, "Tom, pick up your chips and walk away." So I did. As I approached the cashier my $40, she asked me if I had won. And I said I certainly did. You see, when the challenge comes, it's too late to prepare. My positive thoughts and actions were starting to teach me how to transform this defeated gambling loser into someone who had larger goals and aspirations. My 90 days of uphill thoughts and actions countered the 3,650 days I had of downhill decision making. And this is when I learned that there's a process to transformation. And this is a process that I've adopted, the 7 steps of transformation that I embedded in everything I do in my life, personally and professionally. You could learn more, there's a card at my table, but I only have time to talk about one today and introduce it to you, which I think is the most important. Changing your thinking. James Allen said that you are literally the sum of all of your thoughts. Your character is the sum of all of your thoughts. I was programmed to lie, cheat, and steal my way to my daily goal. I wasn't programmed to understand how my actions were hurting not only me, but the people that loved me the most. You can reprogram your thoughts by bringing in positive information through books and thought leaders like all of the great colleagues that have been on the stage so far today. Most importantly, surround yourself with the individuals who are more successful than you that you want to be like. You see, people seldom change when they don't have a positive model besides themselves to change their behavior. So this may require you changing your environment. The late great Jim Rohn taught us that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. We think in pictures. 11 years ago, the only picture I could try was to have a day without gambling. Today, I envision myself traveling around the world with my family, speaking to large audiences about transformation, and maybe one day being a published author. Today, I have 4,242 consecutive days without gambling. Thank you. I own my own successful coaching and leadership company where we teach the 7 steps of transformation so individuals and organizations can meet their goals and aspirations. But most importantly, I'm a father of 2. And my wife and I now have a relationship that 11 years ago I never thought was possible. All because I was able to take good intentions and turn that into intentional action. I know that I'm always one step away from stupid, but from now on, I only bet on me. Thank you.
It's time to celebrate. Dr. Tom here has given us a great gift. If I can get to the right thing here. He has 3 coaching sessions, a signed book by John Maxwell, and a 7-week book session that kind of goes all along with that. And the winner of that is Amy Simon. Amy? Yay! So check with him at the end here. Okay, why should we celebrate? How do you like this setup today? Isn't that something to celebrate? It's great. You know who made that possible? Attended events. And the main person is our next speaker at attended events, Evan Carroll. He and Stan helped put together this whole project. So I think a great warm round of applause for Evan there. Evan. He's not only the technical producer, but the artistic director, and he in fact made this whole showcase home, I think. So please talk to him afterwards and express your thoughts and thanks for that. Presentations about technology seem to be everywhere today, but few of them seem to challenge how to apply that technology to your data and your data to your life and your business. Evan Carroll is a technology expert who works with companies in data-rich industries. He guides them on how to improve customer experience, brand loyalty, and their bottom line. Evan is the author of 2 technology books and has appeared in major news outlets such as New York Times, CBS Sunday Morning, NPR's Fresh Air, The Atlantic, and Popular Science. He's also been seen hanging out with American Marketing Association members because this year he's the National Volunteer of the Year for the American Marketing Association. Boy, the boy is just going on down here. Today, Evan will help us find when. Can you say win? He's going to help us win with business. Evan Carroll.
I have a confession to make here today. I have an unhealthy obsession with office supplies. So much so that when I was in high school, I asked my parents for a futon to go in my room so that my room would look more inviting to my business guests. And so, about 2 weeks ago, I had my latest run-in with office supplies. You see, my least favorite piece of equipment in the office is the paper shredder. Who here hates the paper shredder? It's second to being the most hated office product. The printer is the first most hated. Am I right? Well, the story goes like this. I was working late one night, trying to shred all of that junk mail that I get on paper. I don't know why people send you that. I prefer spam. But as I was shredding all of these documents, the unthinkable happened. I managed to topple my 32-ounce container of fresh, crisp water right onto my MacBook Pro. So I leapt into action. I flipped it over, I shook the water out, I pulled the cables out of it, I turned it off. And then I started to panic. What if I lost everything? So I did what any responsible Mac owner does at 8:45 on a Thursday night. I get in my car and I drive to the Apple store. I come in the door holding my laptop, lid open, upside down, and I find the first person I meet. He's wearing one of those Apple t-shirts and jeans that are too tight. And I walk up to him and I tell him my plight. And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're not taking any more appointments today." I said, No, you don't understand. I don't need an appointment. I need to see someone. He said, "Well, I'm sorry, that's not how it works." So I say, "Well, is there anything you can do?" He gets on his earpiece. "I need a manager over here." Manager walks up and says, "Why is he holding his laptop like that?" I said, "Because obviously I spilled water on it and I want your help." And as he was explaining to me why he could not help me, almost like my hero came riding in on a horse, one of those Mac geniuses came over and said, "I hear we have a water problem." Just so you know, there's not much I can do about it. Because all water repairs from Apple are done at the factory and have a standard price of $1,249. I said, "But can you just open up and see how much water got in there? Let's just tell me how bad the problem is." So he did so. But here's the point of my story. As I was browsing the Apple store, looking at things that I certainly couldn't afford, especially with that $1,249 bill that was coming my way, I felt a familiar feeling. It wasn't a pleasant one, and I couldn't quite place it. But when I did, I realized it was as if a family member had been sent to emergency. Now, those of you laughing might be thinking, "My gosh, Evan has an unhealthy relationship with his office technology." Not at all. In fact, the thing that I was upset about was all of my data. All of the files on that computer that represent relationships, business history, everything related to my business. And if you think about your data, if you're like me, you don't think about it very often. You think about it when something's about to go wrong. You think about it when you're at risk of losing it. But the challenge I would posit for you today is to think about your data as a business asset. So when I give longer keynote presentations, I present a selection of IBM research. I'm going to share that with you here today. 76% of consumers expect organizations to understand their individual needs, understand them as people. What is the relationship we have with our customers? Second, 81% of consumers demand improved response time. They want it faster. They want it better. They want it more correct the first time. And what is the responsiveness we have to our customers? And finally, this is my favorite, 68% of consumers expect organizations to harmonize their customer experience. All the departments are playing off the same sheet of music. Anyone here work for a company where it doesn't seem like everyone's playing off the same sheet of music? Consumers expect us to be consistent. And this is about readiness. What can we do as an organization to make sure we're ready to handle our customers' needs? I'll share one of these with you today. And we're going to take a quick trip to South Africa. Does that sound good? Awesome. Thank you, Becky.
Amen.
We're going to talk about Santam Insurance. Santam is a car insurance company, and they faced a classic dilemma. Their customers were telling them they were not paying claims quickly enough. But in South Africa, 22% of premiums that people pay can be attributed to fraudulent claim payouts. So we're all smart business people in the room, and if you're not, I'll welcome you into the group as well. What we're going to do is we're going to analyze this situation. If I need to pay claims more quickly, what does that mean? I've got to have the money to do it. That's a great point. Well, let's say if I need to reduce fraud, what do I need to do when the claim comes in? I need to validate it. I need to scrutinize it more, and that takes what? More time. Does that mean I'm getting the claims paid more quickly? No. The classic problem, right? Well, it turns out Santam deployed technology. They worked with IBM and classified all incoming claims into one of 5 categories. The lowest risk, they were paid immediately without further scrutiny. And the ones that were higher risk, they put those through much more scrutiny. And along the way, they optimized what their employees were working on directly versus what things were automated. Now here's the kicker. After putting this program together, they reduced claims processing time by 90%. Let me say that again, 90%. And in the first year alone, they reduced fraudulent claim payouts by $2.5 million. Now wait a minute, we just did both, right? So let me ask you a question. Is this a win for the customer? Yes. Is this a win for the employees? Yes. Is this a win for the bottom line of the company? That's what I call the win, say it with me, win. 3 wins. 2 are not enough. Take care of your customer, your employee, and the bottom line. So you'll notice something here. All of these words start with R. That's why I call them the 3 R's. It's very original. However, you may also notice that they start with RE. Now, I was a really bad Latin student in college. However, I picked up enough to know that RE literally means again and again. So for you to deploy technology and data to improve your customer experience, to improve your bottom line, to make your employees' jobs easier, you know what you have to do? You have to do things like what Santam did again and again. You can't take a campaign mindset. You can't all sit around a table and decide to do this once. You have to do it again and again. And so unlike my MacBook, which by the way is sitting in the back of this room, perfectly okay running our live stream today, which I'm very happy about. I did not have to pay $1,249. Whew, that felt good. But you know, if you take the advice I've given you here today, go back to your company, pick one project, measure the results, learn from that, and then do another, and then do another, and then do another. Literally doing these things again and again, you'll see great success in your business. Thank you very much.
Stay up here for a minute.
Sure.
Evan, thank you, music. Evan, I hope it doesn't return.
Again and again.
Evan does a lot of events, and one of his signature events is the High Five Conference coming up with the American Marketing Association. When? Tell us a little quick thing.
February 24th, 25th, and 26th, 2018.
It's a 3-day?
3-day.
3-day conference. Lots of good stuff. It's where creative meets
Marketing.
Great thing. And the person that won, he is giving away a free ticket, which is worth hundreds of dollars, to Coach Brett Blair. Coach? There you go.
Thank you, Ben.
We're at the end. The end is near. Are you ready to give a testimonial? Preacher Rufus is in the house. Yes, he is. He be prepared for a message that will challenge your thoughts and lift your spirit. Yea, verily. Can I have an amen? Not a very good amen, but I will do it. Rufus Stevenson's passion for public speaking has been long-standing and spanned over 25 years. He's a former business owner, corporate executive, and, yes, an ordained minister of 20 years. In 2015, Rufus formed a motivational speaking company called Raising the Roof Communication. His award-winning presentations are always geared to having his listeners feel better about their life possibilities. Rufus believes that age is only a number that marks our place in time. It fails miserably when it starts measuring our passions and our possibilities. Be prepared to receive the challenge of his message today, 50. Now what? Please welcome to the stage, Preacher Rufus.
Thank you. How many of you feel like you're old? Okay. Pretty much what I expected. We're always obsessing about age, the turning of the calendar, and the effect on our bodies. One guy even wished out loud. He said, you know what? It'd be great if we could put ourselves in a tumble dryer for 10 minutes and come out wrinkle-free and 2 sizes smaller. I want to make the case today that age should never be a limiting factor for our possibilities. So when you hear me say 50, I want you to hear your age. I say 50, you hear 26. I say 50, you hear 38, 39, 42, 61, sorry. I'm talking to you. You see, I see age, I don't define age like as the turning of the calendar, but rather the abandonment of passion and the dismissal of possibilities. That's what I call old. The Roman philosopher and statesman Cicero said, as I give thought to the matter, I find 4 causes for the apparent misery of old age. First, it withdraws us from active accomplishment. Then it renders the body less powerful. Third, it denies us all forms of pleasure. And fourth, it stands not far from death. The statesman Cicero said that. And when I heard what Cicero said, I said, give me a break. Kid, you have got to be kidding me. What a dim view of life as we grow older. Frankly, I think Cicero was a bit myopic. It was either that or the man just didn't get out much. I believe that as we grow older, we are never more poised for performance. We've never been that smart before. We've never been that wise before. The poet Robert Frost puts it this way: the afternoon knows what the morning never suspected. Many of you today are looking at a different life. You've seen a whole lot. You've had enough bad news in your life to draw the solid conclusion that just like the phoenix, you too can rise from the ashes of your calamity. Likewise, you've had enough good experiences to draw the equally solid conclusion that if it happened for you before, it can indeed happen for you again. For the record, we're always, always better than the situations that confront us. Let me make my case. In May of 1995, my wife of 24 years and friend since 10th grade passed away. 60 days later, my mother passed away. And you need to know that I'm a mama's boy. And it appeared to me at that time that the bottom was rushing up to meet me. But because of faith, family, and friends, I stand here before you this morning in love again with my wife, Cynthia, and memories of a lifetime. What's my point? We're always better than the situations that confront us. I don't know you, but I know this about you. You're at your prime. You're at your sweet spot. Life is in your wheelhouse. Or any other metaphor that best describes your perfect storm posture. That's where you are right now. Not convinced, huh? Well, consider this. Some of you just might be late bloomers. Your great stuff just hadn't shown up yet. Well, remember this. It's not as important when you bloom as that you bloom. Let me say it again for you. It's not as important when you bloom as that you bloom. Somebody write that down. Carve it in your thigh, whatever you got to do to hold on to it. I'm a late bloomer. My good stuff didn't start showing up until early 40s, and I really started to bloom at 60. Listen, my friends, there is so much in you. So much in you. You see, life is a book that we all get to write. We don't know when the story ends. So for that reason, you ought to let the pen fly. And while you're writing your life book, ask yourself this question. Who in the world would knowingly write a boring book? No, my friends, you make your book a page turner, something of epic proportion. Now, all of these reflections bring us back to the question of the morning. 50, now what? I promised you answers. 50, now everything. Everything you ever wanted to do but didn't for whatever reason. 50, now personal reflections, and with the reflections, a new commitment to your passions and your possibilities. 50, now standing up to the fears that stared you down from your possibilities. 50, now giving vent to the pent-up passions that scream for escape. 50, now everything. The inimitable poetess Maya Angelou said, everything in the universe has a rhythm. Everything dances. My friends, I hope you dance. Oh, I hope you dance. I hope you dance like there's no tomorrow. I hope you dance like nobody's watching. I hope you dance like your very life depended on it, because to one degree or another, it does. I hope you dance like you're getting paid for it. I hope you dance until there's nothing left to bring to the dance floor. Yes, my friends, just dance. Just dance. God bless you all. Thank you.
As my pirate friend once said, aren't you glad you came today? Thank you so much for being here today. I'd like to call your attention. Can we have one more round of applause for the 9 great presenters you've heard today? Yes. For your information, all those presenters have tables at the back that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Please feel free to stop by and look at their information. Those of you that won gifts, stop by and collect your gift and make arrangements to get that delivered to you. Thank you so much for coming. We will be enjoying seeing you, and always have a good time, and remember, change is always there. Be prepared for it and do it as a positive force. Oh, the gift keeps on giving. More gift bags at the back if you didn't get one. So feel free. Thank you so much. Give yourself a big round.